When people say 80s pop, most of us hear the same 30 radio staples on loop. But the decade was far bigger and far braver than the hits suggest. Beneath the neon and the mega singles lived a parallel universe of albums that quietly rewired songwriting, production, and mood. Sophisti-pop that whispered instead of shouted, art pop that bent the rules of structure, jangle and baroque textures that aged into cult classics. This film is about those records. 15 albums that never got the marketing budgets or playlist slots they deserved, yet shaped how the 80s actually sounded, on midnight headphones, in secondhand record shops, and in the work of the artists who came after. We'll trace the choices behind them. The studio tricks and fairlight patches, the bass lines you felt more than noticed, the lyricists who turned small stories into widescreen cinema. Here's the playbook we're using. Front-to-back listenability over one-off singles, production craft that still reveals new details, influence that outweighs chart peaks, and the slow burn of critical reappraisal. By the end, you'll have a new canon, the 80s pop you were never handed, but will wonder how you lived without. Before Cupid and Psyche 85, Scritti Politti were the most bookish kids in post-punk, theory-soaked, DIY, endlessly deconstructing the idea of a pop song. On Cupid, they don't abandon that brain. They smuggle it into platinum gloss pop. What you hear is Green Gartside's impossibly weightless tenor hovering over ultra-precise drum programming, glassy keyboards, and bass lines that glide rather than thump. The production is hyper-detailed. Every hi-hat tick and fairlight stab lives in its own little pocket. Yet the record never feels clinical. It sparkles. What sets Cupid apart is how it reframes sophistication as seduction. Lyrically, Green plays with sign and symbol, desire and distance. But what you register first are hooks engineered to be irresistible. Would Bees, Pray Like Aretha Franklin, is a manifesto disguised as a banger. Perfect Way makes R&B contouring and pop calculus feel frictionless. The word girl floats on a lover's rock breeze while interrogating romance as language. In a decade that often equated big with loud, Cupid whispers and still fills the room. It's the proof that intellectual pop can move feet first and minds later. Start here. Perfect Way, Would Bees, Pray Like Aretha Franklin, The Word Girl.
I've broken every door, the ghosts of my life.
By 1981, Japan had shed their glam lacquer and stepped into something starker and stranger. Tin drum is the sound of space carefully curated. David Sylvian's low, mannered vocal sits inside negative space. Richard Barbieri weaves synth textures like paper lanterns. Steve Jansen's drums are dry, disciplined, almost ascetic, and Mick Karn's fretless bass snakes through the mix with a voice of its own.
Just when I think I'm winning.
The record draws on East Asian timbres not as tourist postcard, but as rhythmic and harmonic logic, tuned percussion, pentatonic figures, patterns that repeat until trance replaces expectation.
The wilder than before.
Ghosts is the shock, an almost ambient single that reached the UK top 5, built on little more than pulse, breath, and dread. Visions of China is taut, restless. The Art of Parties turns minimal elements into kinetic dance.
Became the ghost of my life, the wilder.
What makes Tin Drum endure is its refusal to crowd the canvas. It's pristine without being brittle, regional in influence without being pastiche, and, quietly, one of the decade's most radical pop statements: less is luxury. Start here, Ghosts, Visions of China, The Art of Parties. Paul Weller leaves the jam at the peak of mod punk power and, with Mick Talbot, walks straight into a different room. Brush snares, jazz chords, organ vamps, and a palette that says Blue Hour instead of Rush Hour. Café Bleu is not a pose, it's a portfolio. It drifts between sophisti-pop, soul, instrumentals, and spoken word detours as if moving table to table in the same club.
Wanting more than I've already got.
The shock in 1984 wasn't that Weller could write melodies. He always could. It's that he refused to shout them. You're the Best Thing is generous and unhurried. My ever-changing moods marries political unease to cafe society swing. Head Start for Happiness carries youthful optimism but plays it with adult restraint. What makes the album undervalued is precisely what makes it special. It doesn't care if you notice its craft on first pass. The playing is tasteful, the grooves light on their feet, the politics woven into arrangement rather than sloganeered at the mic. In the landscape of big, gated drums and bombast, Café Bleu argues for intimacy and atmosphere. The idea that softness can be radical, that Sunday morning can carry as much charge as Saturday night. Start here, my ever-changing moods. You're the Best Thing, Head Start for Happiness. The Dream Academy's debut lives in a distinctly 1980s intersection, pastoral melancholy meeting studio poise. Nick Laird-Clowes and Kate St. John build a world where oboe and cor anglais don't ornament the songs, they articulate them. You can feel a certain Pink Floyd school of patience in the production fingerprints, but the album's personality is its own, widescreen yet hushed, romantic but never saccharine. Life in a Northern Town is the doorway. Its chant feels like folk memory set to modern rhythm, but the deeper charms are in how the record sustains that tone.
He said in winter 1963.
The edge of forever drifts like a dream you can't quite place. The Love Parade walks the line between adult pop and art song. The band treats silence as an instrument, letting reverb carry emotion rather than cluttering the field. It's pop that remembers landscape, streets after rain, a town square at dusk, the echo of a schoolyard in winter. In a decade sprinting towards the future, this album pauses, looks back, and turns memory into melody. Start here, Life in a Northern Town, The Edge of Forever, The Love Parade.
Look around and say,
File this under records unfairly overshadowed by a novelty image. The Flat Earth isn't about lab coat cleverness. It's about atmosphere, harmony, and restraint. Dolby approaches pop like a cinematographer. He paints with light and shadow, using synths for texture rather than spectacle. Jazz voicings creep into the chords, bass moves like a second melody, and the rhythm section breathes instead of quantizing the life out of the groove. Hyperactive is the calling card, kinetic, playful, arranged with a wink. But listen to how Screen Kiss stretches time, or how the title track floats on a calm that feels both intimate and cosmic. The record's secret isn't technology, it's taste. Even when the production leans digital, the touch is human.
all my life.
Dolby trusts the microphone to capture air around instruments, trusts the listener to lean in. In a year when many albums chased clarity and ended up brittle, the Flat Earth found warmth, and it still rewards on a great pair of headphones. Start here, Hyperactive, Screen Kiss, The Flat Earth. Coda, why these five matter together. Grouped side by side, these albums map an alternative arc through mid-80s pop. Scritti Politti proves that gloss can carry depth. Japan proves that minimalism can hit the charts. The Style Council proves that political pop can whisper. The Dream Academy proves that nostalgia can be modern. Thomas Dolby proves that technology can serve song, not swallow it. If you want the quick fix, chase the singles. If you want to understand the decade's secret grammar, how space, texture, and restraint rewrote the rules, play these front to back. Next chapter, we turn the screws. Critic favorites that still slip past most people's speakers, 10 through 6, and why each one changed the way the 80s actually sounded. Some albums chase hooks, Sulk chases delirium. The Associates were a paradox from the start. Billy McKenzie's operatic tenor and Alan Rankin's meticulous, sometimes perverse sound design. And on Sulk, they make excess into architecture. The drums are cavernous and rubbery. The synths are lacquered to a mirror sheen. And somewhere in the middle, McKenzie vaults between registers like a gymnast, turning syllables into fireworks. It's maximalist art pop that refuses the straight line. Choruses tumble out of bridges, verses arrive like fever dreams, and the whole thing plays like a couture runway show set to a storm. What keeps it from collapsing under its own grandeur is intention. Beneath the peacock flourishes, these are durable songs about class, vanity, fear, and the private theater of desire. Party Fears 2 struts, but it's also panic in motion. Club Country sounds like neon triumph and reads like social satire. Skipping is the quiet vertigo at the edge of all that performance. Sulk didn't fully cross over, too strange for daytime radio, yet it became a secret handshake among singers and producers who learned that drama, done precisely, can be pop's sharpest blade. Start here, Party Fears 2, Club Country, Skipping. File under Sweetness with Teeth. On the surface, London Zero Hull 4 is all jangle and hand claps, a debut that breezes like a summer afternoon. Listen closer and you catch the angles. Paul Heaton's warm tenor carrying lyrics that glare at hypocrisy, guitar lines that dance but never drift, a rhythm section with a young Norman Cook on bass that plays light but lands heavy. It's the classic pop trick, sugar the pill so it goes down nationwide, executed with uncommon clarity. Happy Hour is the Trojan Horse, a sing-along about toxic office culture that feels like a pub anthem. Flag Day puts socialist bite in a hymn's clothing. Sheep is jumpy, tart, and just a little punk at the edges. Back to the kitchen sink. What a good place to be. Don't believe I... Some contemporaries went bigger and brassier, but the Housemartins chose a different weapon, brevity. 2- and 3-minute songs that make their point, smile as they do it, and leave you rewinding to catch what was really said. As debuts go, it's a masterclass in how to be charming without going soft, and how to put politics on the radio without preaching. Start here, Happy Hour, Flag Day, Sheep. Teenagers aren't supposed to write like this. Roddy Frame was barely out of school when he turned out a set of songs that sound both street bright and book smart. Quicksilver guitar figures, jazz-leaning chord voicings, melodies that feel inevitable once you've heard them. The production is unfussy, no wall of synths, no stadium echo, because it doesn't need to be. The songs carry themselves. What you hear is a young writer already in long conversation with Bacharach, with folk revivalists, with the best of the British songbook, and still somehow sounding like nobody but himself. Walk out to Windsor, swear I'll be there. Oblivious is elegance in motion, guitar lines braiding around a melody that refuses to leave. Walk Out to Winter sketches a whole youth in a few camera-sharp images. We Could Send Letters turns a postcard into a novel. There's romance here, and a touch of defiance, an insistence that craft is cool, that literacy sings. If much of '83 chased bigger drums and brighter plastic, Highland, Hard Rain made a quieter bet. Timeless beats, timely every time. Start here. Oblivious, Walk Out to Winter, We Could Send Letters. There's a particular light to this record, late afternoon gold on a city street, and once you notice it, you hear it everywhere. In the chiming guitars, in the open-air drum sound, in the way these melodies lift without straining.
She went out with a matchsticks, torched the car wash too.
Grant McLennan and Robert Forster alternate like two diarists swapping pages. Amanda Brown's violin and oboe sketch the margins with warmth and air. It's music of small details that add up to a life. A fence, a back seat, a sunstruck afternoon, a conversation that tilts a relationship forever.
Was there anything I could do?
Streets of Your Town is the postcard everyone knows, a tune so inviting it almost hides the shadows in the lyric. Love Goes On is as buoyant as its title. Was There Anything I Could Do? Taps the adrenaline rush of storytelling and runs with it. The Go-Betweens never played the market's game. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong everything. Yet 16, Lover's Lane has the glow of records that eventually find every listener meant for them. Put it on once, and it becomes part of your weather. Start here, Streets of Your Town, Love Goes On. Was There Anything I Could Do? Concept albums usually shout their intentions. Skylarking hums them. A day and a life, traced from meadow to midnight, youth to afterglow, stitched together so snugly you feel the seams only when you go looking. The acoustic guitars are nearer the mic than usual. The bass is melodic, almost McCartney-like. Strings and woodwinds tuck in around the band rather than sitting on top. The result is pastoral without being quaint, pop classical without fuss. The sound of a group that's been sharpening its pen for years, finally given a frame that flatters every line. Grass rolls in like late spring, sensual and sly. The meeting place ticks like factory time while the melody lifts into private sky. Earn Enough for Us reminds you Colin Moulding can write a perfect kitchen sink single on command. In later US pressings, Dear God sneaks into the running order and detonates the idol. Another conversation entirely. What matters most is the glide. How these songs greet each other, how the record teaches you its grammar in real time, how it leaves you feeling understood by music that seems to remember things on your behalf. Start here. Grass, The Meeting Place, Earn Enough for Us. Dear God appears on later US editions. Interlude. What ties these five together? Each of these albums won critics and cults, but somehow slipped the mass rotation net. The reasons differ. Too strange, too subtle, too adult, too honest. But the achievement is shared. They expand what pop could be in the 1980s without rejecting pop at all. The Associates prove grandeur can be grotesque and gorgeous at once. The Housemartins prove sweetness can punch. Aztec Camera proves virtuosity can be intimate. The Go-Betweens prove modesty can glow. XTC proves cohesion can feel like memory. Next up, 5-1, the Shouldn't Be Underrated Classics. Why the records at the top of this list don't just deserve reappraisal, they demand it. By 1987, Eurythmics could have coasted on radio dominance. Instead, they zagged. Savage is the duo at their most willfully experimental. Icy drum programming, glass-edged synths, and an album-length character study that lets Annie Lennox split into multiple selves. Domestic angel, glam predator, unreliable narrator, often within the same verse. The record doesn't chase the big, obvious hooks of Touch or Be Yourself Tonight. It weaponizes texture and persona. What anchors Savage is the tension between Dave Stewart's ultra-controlled sonic world and Lennox's volatile performance art. Beethoven, I love to listen to, is practically theater, with a rhythm that starts clinical and ends feral. You have placed a chill in my heart, chills because it underplays, an admission whispered over a pulsing frost. And I Need a Man tears the set dressing down, a raw, swaggering monologue that exposes the cage the other songs only imply. You can hear the late 80s digital toolkit everywhere. Samplers, gated rooms, synth bass. But the record never dates because it treats those tools as vocabulary, not fashion. Why it mattered. In an era drunk on bombast, Savage argued that pop could be art cinema, fragmented identity, emotional ambiguity, and sonics that cut like neon. It didn't dominate playlists, it didn't need to. It influenced how later artists would stage persona as composition. Start here, Beethoven, I love to listen to. You have placed a chill in my heart. I Need a Man. Reduce Aha to Take On Me, and you missed the point. Scoundrel Days is noir synth pop, minor key, windswept, and cinematic. The trio lean into drama not by getting louder, but by writing with dynamic contrast, verse and chorus as two climates colliding. The production is meticulous but never brittle. Drum machines and real drums interlock, electric guitars spark against cool keyboards, and Morten Harkett's voice becomes an instrument of weather, sleek one moment, thunderhead the next. Manhattan Skyline is the album's thesis in one song. An aching, almost hymn-like opening detonates into a double-time chorus that feels like an elevator cable snapping. I've Been Losing You brings rock muscle without abandoning the band's melodic clarity. And Cry Wolf is pure late-night momentum, mystery on rails. Lyrically, Scoundrel Days trades teen crush for adult unease, distance, surveillance, the city as beautiful trap. Why it mattered. It proved that the heart of synthpop could beat darker and deeper without sacrificing craft. Critics would circle back years later. Fans never left. Start here, Manhattan Skyline. I've Been Losing You, Cry Wolf. Listen to It's My Life as a hinge. On one side, you have sleek early 80s synthpop. On the other, the future art rock minimalism of Spirit of Eden and Laughingstock. This album contains both impulses, songs built for radio, arranged with a patience that refuses to shout. Tim Friese-Green's arrival as producer/collaborator matters. You can hear him and Mark Hollis thinning the air around the band, making space into part of the composition. The title track is the obvious door in, an immaculate melody over a quietly adventurous arrangement. Such a Shame raises the stakes. The groove is insistent, but the vocal feels like a conversation Hollis is having with himself, phrases trailing off into the room. Tomorrow Started is the tell. Its architecture, long, hovering chords, dynamics that bloom and retreat, prefigures the austerity to come. Nothing is wasted. Every synth line has a reason to exist. The bass often carries the subtext. Why it mattered. It taught mainstream pop a vocabulary of restraint. Don't you forget. Years later, you can draw straight lines from It's My Life to any number of quietly colossal records. The trick wasn't to abandon hooks. It was to build them into a living, breathing mix. Start here, It's My Life, Such a Shame, Tomorrow Started.
Breaks down, love breaks down.
If songwriting had a conservatory, this would be on the entrance exam. Patty McAloon writes with a novelist's eye and a melodist's ear, scenes set in 3 chords, characters sketched in a single internal rhyme. Thomas Dolby's production wraps those songs in velvet. Gentle drum machines, fretless sighs, guitar filigree that implies more than it states. But polish never smothers pulse. Each arrangement leaves room for breath, and Wendy Smith's high harmonies act like light entering through blinds. When Love Breaks Down is the thesis, a standard in waiting, its chord movement turning romantic fallout into something oddly uplifting.
When love breaks down, the things you do to stop the truth.
Appetite threads lust, guilt, and grace with a chorus that feels inevitable the second time you hear it. Goodbye Lucille No. 1, Johnny Johnny, walks the tightrope between affectionate tease and genuine consolation. The US retitle, Two Wheels Good, is trivia. What matters is how completely these songs refuse expiration.
Stop the truth from hurting you. When love breaks down.
They were elegant in '85. They're elegant now. Why it mattered? Steve McQueen made a case for literate pop that never felt academic. It should have been huge. Instead, it became a touchstone, passed hand to hand by people who want melody to mean something. Start here. When Love Breaks Down, Appetite, Goodbye Lucille No. 1, Johnny Johnny.
Oh, you're right. There is just
Some albums describe places. Hats and Habits one. You can smell the rain on the pavement, see bus windows blur into phosphorescent lines, feel the late night hour when a city seems to breathe slower. The Blue Nile get there by subtraction. Drum machines played with human patience, chords held just long enough to ache. Paul Buchanan singing like a confidence shared across a table at closing time.
can you see
Callum Malcolm's engineering turns negative space into tone. The reverb is not decoration, it's architecture. The Downtown Lights opens the door with a promise and a question mark. Every chorus lifts, but never to triumph, more like to relief. Headlights on the Parade is all motion and memory, a car ride recast as a relationship postmortem. Let's Go Out Tonight is almost nothing and yet everything. Voice, a few chords, and the kind of intimacy most records chase and miss.
in love we're all the same.
There are no obvious singles because the album's power is cumulative. You live inside it for 40-odd minutes and emerge as if from weather. Why it mattered? At the end of the decade, when scale and sheen defined big pop, hats proved that quiet could feel infinite. It became a cult masterpiece not because it was obscure, but because it met listeners where they really were, alone, hopeful, honest, at 3 a.m. Start here. The Downtown Lights, Headlights on the Parade. Let's Go Out Tonight. The journey doesn't end here, pop lovers. Watch this next.